he will be given a technical foul and ejected from the basketball game for his second technical foul. By rule, the coach of Cleveland will kick the shooter from the bench to shoot the 2 free throws, and we will shoot the technical foul first by Cleveland, anybody in the game at the time.
It's time for Warriors Wrap-Up with John Dickinson. We'll bring you into the locker room and hear from Coach Kerr and the players, highlights from the game, and JD will take your calls. Warriors Wrap-Up starts now.
Yeah, a wild scene as it does start now here from Chase Center. It's John Dickinson, 95.7 The Game, 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. That's the phone number to participate in the program. You can give me a call or shoot me a text. The Comcast Business text line is open, and we already have a few people that have chimed in with their thoughts on this one. It is a 118-110 loss as the Cavaliers beat the Warriors tonight here inside Chase Center. So they walk out of this building 4-5 with 2 of their 4 wins against the Dubs in the last 7 nights. And the Warriors now have lost 2 consecutive games for the first time this season as they slip to 6-4 on the season. And a little bit of concern, I think, early on the home floor. Warriors playing great on the road at 5-2, and there's been a lot made of the fact that this year isn't going to be like last year. And to this point on the road, it hasn't been, and that's been a very good thing for the Warriors so far this season. But this team won 33 games at Chase Center last year, and I think the thought process coming into the season was improve significantly on the road record and be a similar team as to what the Warriors were at home this season. And with this 6-game homestand getting off on a losing note, I do think there's nothing to panic about per se, but you look at the 1-2 and you start to think, well, is there going to be somewhat of an offset with, all right, this team's going to be better on the road. They've clearly already showed that, but maybe they're not going to quite be the 33-win type team that they were on the home floor a year ago. But yeah, wild scene, third quarter, 6:23 mark, and the game had really gotten chippy, I thought, late second quarter and on into the third. I thought that the physicality of the Cavs, they were pretty physical in that second quarter where they outscored the Warriors 38-21, and I thought the Warriors were trying to push back a little bit in the third quarter, a quarter the Warriors ultimately won by 15 to trail by 1 going to the fourth quarter as Karis LeVert had the tip in there at the end of the third quarter. Big night for Karis LeVert, and not as big a night for the Warriors bench as we have seen here in recent days where the bench had been able to really carry the freight. They did win the bench point battle tonight, did the Warriors, but the Cavaliers had the best player maybe in the game offensively for them come off of their bench in Karis LeVert, and it wasn't the dominant forceful performances that we've seen from the Warriors bench, as they did outscore Cleveland, as I mentioned, but only by a 43-31 margin because of LeVert being able to put up the 22, and the Warriors have needed, frankly, the dominance in terms of bench play to win a lot of these games in the early going. So a lot to get into, a lot to sort out here, as it is the first of a back-to-back for the Warriors. They're right back on the Chase Center hardwood tomorrow night with the Minnesota Timberwolves in town, which is going to be the first of a 2-game mini-series between the Dubs and the Warriors, playing tomorrow night right back here 5:30, and then at 7 o'clock on Tuesday night as the Warriors homestand rolls on here with 5 more games to be played, with the Warriors getting off to the 0-1 start, now the 1-2 start overall. But yeah, wild scene. I know Steve Kerr spoke in his postgame press conference about what happened with the Draymond ejection. And I think they got the Donovan Mitchell part correct as far as the common foul upon review, but just the odd nature of being able to go back multiple plays and assess a technical foul to Draymond Green for really what was, let's be honest, a cheap shot on Mitchell. Now those two had been battling. Draymond had been going back and forth with the Cavs and Jarrett Allen really for the better part of a quarter and a half to 2 quarters. of this game at the point in which everything came to a head, and this was right in the midst of the Warriors trying to work their way back in the game after they had gotten down 17 late in quarter number 2, and they were fighting their way back, really went on a run after the ejection, but I didn't know the extent of the rule that you could go back as far as they went back to be able to assess the technical foul. I did know that a foul that gets reviewed to where they are, trying to assess, a potential altercation or when things get heated, they are able to go back and look back at other incidents involving those two players if they are relatively recent. And so they did do that with Draymond. It was something that was missed in real time. And look, we can quibble about whether it's fair or unfair to be able to go back that far. But when you looked at it, it was, all right, yeah, Draymond clearly on the prior play had hit him. And it was kind of a shot. And unfortunately, that's the downside of Draymond Green picking up a technical foul earlier in the game, because he didn't get tossed for that. He got tossed because that triggered the second technical. So there's a lot of things going on here. You've got Mitchell laying the foul that they review to see if there's a hostile act or if it's flagrant. They deem it's not. That triggers the review of what was going on between Draymond and between Donovan Mitchell. That ultimately gets Draymond a tech, which I think in and of itself is probably the appropriate call in that particular instance. But it's Draymond Green's second technical of the night because he had already picked up a technical earlier, and that means Draymond Green's got to hit the showers at the 6:23 mark of quarter number 3. And that really left the Warriors, although they did go on a run, and outscore the Cavs 31-16 in the third quarter to get to where they were down 1. It was 17-8 after the ejection. So you look at what the Warriors were able to, it was 14-8 up until that point, and then they hit them with another 17-8 after the Draymond Green ejection at 6:23 in the third. But down the stretch, the Cavs are a bigger team, again, not just in terms of the Jarrett Allens and not just in terms of the Evan Mobleys, but they're a long team. They're a team that has wings, and so not having Draymond Green out there, I think is it cost him, it hurt him, and the Cavaliers were really able to get out and burn the Warriors. I thought a lot off of the Warriors' misses and poor shooting in transition. So I know every time the Warriors lose, there's going to be a conversation, especially when they lose to a team with size, that it's all about size. And I know there's a lot of people out there, and I mentioned this Sunday, that are going to say, you got to go get a big, you got to go to get a big and all that. I don't really think that's a big part of the story tonight. I think if the Warriors have said, and I'll just put this out there once, the Warriors believe that the combination of Kevon Looney and Dario Saric and Trace Jackson-Davis and Draymond Green basically is their fourth center and a guy that's going to finish a lot of games at the center spot. That is good enough and better than anybody, all four of those players in their own way, better than anybody that the Warriors could pick up off the scrap heap at this particular point in time and add them to the roster specifically for nights where they play teams that are bigger. I really didn't think that was the story of tonight. I thought the story of tonight was points off turnovers. First and foremost, points off turnovers. Warriors turned it over 20 times. 20 times tonight, for as well as the Warriors had been not turning the basketball over early on in the season. 20 turnovers for Golden State, and the Cavs were able to score 32 points off those turnovers. That's the game right there. And in the ugly second quarter to boot. Now the Warriors made up nearly for the entire second quarter in the third quarter, but they dug a hole, which was 17, and it's tough to get yourself out of that hole. The Warriors did, but then they were going to have to finish it shorthanded because Draymond wasn't going to be out there. So 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570, Comcast Business text line open as well. And I think the other big thing just right off the top, turnovers was the first thing I jotted down. the lack of secondary scoring. I mean, Steph Curry had 30 in 3 quarters in this game. Didn't shoot it well, as it turns out. 9 of 24, 4 of 14, 3. But Klay Thompson goes for 14, Andrew Wiggins 13, and those are the number 2 and number 3 scorers for the Warriors on this night. Jonathan Kuminga, another kind of ineffective 12. Like, Kuminga's getting his 10 to 12 every night, but it's a lot of 2 of 7s. It's a lot of 4 of 12s. It's a lot of free throws with poor shooting and field goal percentage to boot. And I thought Kuminga was more active tonight than maybe he's been, but really active in getting to the free throw line, and that's about it. But I'm not putting this on Kuminga. The secondary scoring thing is something to monitor, and the reason the Warriors have been able to win without the secondary scoring is because they've had players up and down the box score have the ability to pitch in with 10, 12, 15, and there's been a number of those, and then their benches have dominated opposing teams' benches. And that's been the offset and why the Warriors have been able to overcome it, but couldn't completely overcome the bad second quarter, couldn't overcome the 32 points off of 20 turnovers, and then you look at the Draymond ejection as part of this thing as well, and the Warriors now looking at 1-2 here at Chase Center, and the Timberwolves are coming in to face the Warriors tomorrow night and on Tuesday night, and the Timberwolves are off to a really nice start, albeit at home, but a really nice start to this season for them as they're going to roll into the Bay Area here for the next 2, coming in at 6-2. The loss dips the Warriors to 6-4. That's good enough to be 5th right now in the Western Conference playoff race early on in the year. Again, still too early to really look too significantly at the standings, but you do want to keep tabs at who's in front of you and who's kind of right around where you are among the favorites. The Warriors still are ahead of Sacramento and ahead of the Lakers and ahead of Phoenix as far as their start, behind Denver, Dallas, and Minnesota. Also, Houston has jumped them now. Kind of crazy when you think of that, but really, you're really comparing the Warriors, I think, to Denver, Phoenix, the Lakers, and maybe even Sacramento. They had struggled, but have now won a couple of games without De'Aaron Fox after they lost a couple of games without De'Aaron Fox. So it's really those teams, I think, that you kind of look, all right, where are the Warriors at? It's a little early to know what Houston is. Oklahoma City's kind of in that mix as well. But, Warriors need to fix the secondary scoring problem, I think, without a doubt. And tonight was a night where turnovers were an issue, although turnovers top to bottom have not been a huge issue for the Warriors so far this season. All right, 888-957-9570. Let's go to Tony in Alameda on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Tony.
Good evening. Thank you for taking my call. Okay, yeah. I know we have turnovers issue, but it was a close game, okay? When Green just got really, really ejected there, that turns everything around, okay? And I don't know what kind of rules in that when you can go back like 500 million years ago and say, hey, look, you did this wrong. And then they say, okay, you got your second ejection, you're out. And I never heard that before. And I think the coach, they told him to do that, and they already know the rules. Okay, and that's really turns everything around. Also, Mobley, Allen, and Garland and LeVert, they took us apart there. And the bottom line here, we need big. We need big. Mobley and Allen, those two guys just ate us alive there. Okay? And one thing, Wiggins. This guy, he needs to wake up. I haven't seen him yet. He's the real Wiggins yet, okay? Klay, he's not Klay, okay? And Looney, he needs to get up there and be more aggressive, rebound. I think it's more like a scare down below now. So the bottom line, it's the Warriors in a way, but then again, in the Green situation, I'm really pissed off on that.
Fair enough. I appreciate it, Tony. Again, in Draymond, much like in Sacramento last year in the playoffs, he gets ejected, and then it's a he's running around and he's yelling at the crowd and he's trying to get the team fired up. And look, it did bring some juice to the building. Maybe squawking at Mitchell a little bit. The Warriors in the immediate aftermath went on a 17-8 run, so it didn't stop their momentum. Where it hurt them, though, was not having Draymond Green in the fourth quarter. And the Cavs wind up outscoring the Warriors 34-27, and they needed Draymond to be able to bang. As small as he is, a small ball center, he's still one of the Warriors' best, if not their best bangers. Interesting point on Looney. Looney hasn't quite been effective early this year also. He's had a couple of good games against Sabonis, but other than that, he hasn't quite been as effective as consistently, I think, as we're all used to seeing him. But again, I keep coming back to the secondary scoring on a night like tonight and the turnovers. I mean, you got to put the turnovers, I think, at the top. But LeVert was the one that killed it. To me, it was more about the attacking, putting your head down and attacking on the interior. Mobley put his head down a couple of times and he got the ball. He did hurt the Warriors, I thought, on the inside. Cavs did have a 50 to 34 points in the paint advantage overall, but to me it was more the missed shots or turnovers that turned into fast break opportunities, and I thought the Cavs really ran the ball down the Warriors' throat at times. And so that was, to me, the bigger problem was the inability for the Warriors to stop the penetration and stop the slashing. And LeVert ends up, second high man on the floor tonight in terms of points after Curry with 22 and was a plus 23. Dean Wade out there using his 6 fouls in 16 minutes. He's a plus 20 in the game tonight, but it was and hit a couple of huge threes before he fouled out that proved to be real important ones. But yeah, the transition defense, I thought, was a lot of the paint points, and that was the case on Sunday when the Cavaliers were able to hand the Warriors a loss that snapped their 5-game losing streak, and now the Cavs have beaten Golden State here for the second time in a week, and that's going to be it for the season series between these two teams. As you look at some of the notes from this one, the last time the Cavs won both games against the Warriors in a regular season series, 2009, 2010. So go back to LeBron James in what was LeBron James' last season in Cleveland before he left to Miami and then eventually came back to Cleveland. That was the last time the Warriors got swept in a season series with Mike Brown coaching them at that point, the Cavaliers. Warriors had an 8-game winning streak in the Bay against the Cavs. And the Cavs hadn't won a regular season game against the Warriors since 2016. But they win 2 here in less than a week. And the first time that the Cavs have won a chase, or in the Bay, I should say, because there were some games played at Oracle. But, won a regular season road game against the Warriors. The last time Cleveland did that was back in March of 2014 over at Oracle. So they hadn't won in the regular season at Chase in the young history and didn't win the last handful of games there and lost a lot of finals games there as well, although they did have the big Game 7 win over at Oracle in 2016. But a much different squad, obviously, for the Cavaliers right now. 888-957-9570. 888-957-9570. Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game. It's John Dickinson with you as the Cavs beat the Dubs 118-110. Warriors now 6-4. Cleveland 4-5. And the Warriors got to play better at home. That's the other overarching theme, I think, in this one for Golden State is, the 3 home games. Not to make too much of it because it's such a small sample size, but really the 3 home games, the Warriors have not played particularly well offensively in any of the games. They ground out a win against Sacramento on the Klay Thompson jumper. They put up 104 in the opener and shot 35%. And 10 of 43 from 3. So the Warriors have not offensively been a good enough team so far on the season inside Chase Center. Yeah, 104 against the Suns, 35% shooting. They did end up shooting 48% against Sacramento, but only 102. That game was for the most part a slog. And then tonight, you look at it, and the Warriors do score 110, but it was a 41% shooting, 34% on threes. The Warriors did win the three-point battle, but all of the extra points that the Cavs were able to get off turnovers is what proved to be the difference in this game, with Cleveland putting up 32 off of the 20 turnovers. Again, turnovers hadn't been a problem for the Warriors, but a problem for them tonight. And, the Warriors wind up losing this one 118 to 110. All right, 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Let's go ahead and hear a couple of minutes from the head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr, and then we will come back and we will get to a couple of our sponsored features of the night. We'll get our extending the three-point line and also our hardest working player of the game. As first, though, we hear from the head coach.
Explanation on the review of a foul that Draymond got fouled, and then how far can they look back, and how do they explain his ejection?
Said that he got a technical for elbowing Mitchell a couple plays before, maybe. So I had never heard of this rule, but apparently you can retroactively call a technical on someone from 2 plays before upon review.
Your opinion of that rule?
I had no idea. So there's lots of plays I'd like to go back to from 3 years ago, and I don't. That was bizarre.
Steve, what do you think is going on with the offense at home? It feels like shots aren't really falling. Is it that simple?
Well, it's not exactly a big sample size. This was our third home game, I think. It felt sluggish tonight. Sometimes you come back from these trips or being away for a while, and there's a little sluggishness. This team puts a lot of pressure on us, with at the point of attack with Garland and Mitchell, the penetration, and then the Mobley and Allen with their shot blocking. It's been a tough matchup. Both times we've played them, they've really taken it to us and dominated the game. So we'll bounce back. We know we have to be better. We've got to sharpen up our offense in particular. But felt like we reverted to our fouling ways. I think they shot 43 free throws. We've been a little bit better early on, but this looked like last year, just fouling way too often, and it's hard to get into an offensive rhythm when the other team's shooting free throws every time.
Steve, 20 turnovers for 32 points. Just what did you see kind of causing all this?
I thought it was their defense more than carelessness. I thought their defense was really good. They were number one in the league last year for a reason. They put on a lot of pressure. They have shot blocking at the rim. I thought Cleveland played great.
What was the emphasis to start that third quarter? There was a push by you guys, even after Draymond gets ejected. It keeps going. What were you? Was it motion? Was it more movement on offense? What were you?
It was more emotion. It was more force. We came out. That's the first time, literally all season, that first unit has looked right, and it's just because of the energy that they all brought. Sometimes you forget how hard it is to win a game in the NBA. It really is hard because everybody's got a lot of talent, and they just outplayed us in the first half. They were more physical. They were quicker to the ball. So our guys responded to that, and that's what led to that great third quarter. We got our energy right, our spirit right, and that was great to see. But it has to happen from the beginning.
Yeah, it has to happen for the beginning, and some choice comments. I thought a couple of things there was spot on the fouling. That was something that we hadn't mentioned here on the show too much as of yet, but potential positive for that starting unit. First time this year, as Steve Kerr says, that they looked right as they came out and got the jump before Draymond ultimately gets ejected from the game. Had the number on it. It was a 14-8 start for the Warriors, and then it was 17-8 after Draymond got ejected. So basically 14-8 in the first half of the quarter, Draymond ejected, 17-8 in the second half of the quarter. But yeah, the starters looked more like last year, and yeah, after a sluggish first half and kind of getting pushed around by the Cavs, as we talked about at the top of the show. Warriors fought back and brought some emotion into the game, and I think that emotion caused some of the back and forth between Mitchell and Draymond winds up seeing himself get ejected. And the other note is just it's that 20-point note. Dario Saric scored 20 at OKC in the Dario Saric revenge game back, a week ago last night, and he is the only Warrior player to hit for 20, and nobody's gone over 20 other than Stephen Curry so far this season. So the offense does need to get figured out. The Warriors have to figure out the secondary, who the number one and the number two and the number three players are going to be for them. And tonight, I do think Wiggins is slowly maybe coming around a little bit. 13 points, but not shooting the three well. Missed a couple of free throws. Had 3 turnovers, and a couple of them were really bad ones. I know that the Cavs defense does deserve some credit, but some of those turnovers were really bad ones tonight for Andrew Wiggins and Klay Thompson. Just reading a tweet from Tim Kawakami from over in the press conference room. Klay Thompson told reporters that this was probably his worst game of the season, and I think that's probably true. I mean, this was a 5 of 16 and 3 turnovers himself, and the Warriors just looked like they didn't have a whole lot of energy. Cavs are a tough matchup. Cavs have size. Cavs have length, and I think the penetration was the other key point there from the Steve Kerr press conference. The penetration of Mitchell and Garland and LeVert, like they're constantly putting pressure on the perimeter, and I think that's where the Warriors broke down. I think that's what led to all the fouls, and with it looking an awful lot like last year. All right, final couple of minutes here, as it is a back-to-back, so we'll wrap things up relatively quickly and get you on into your Sunday, and then right back tomorrow, 4:30 for Warriors Live, right back here at Chase. Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves with another 5:30 tip-off, and then we'll be on after the ball game, breaking that one down and just seeing where the Warriors are at. I mean, these games are all big games now for Golden State as you look at wanting to make the positive start on the road and the positive start overall stand up. That's not going to happen if you start dropping home games with some regularity. And the Warriors are relatively healthy right now. They had all of their top 13 available to play. You can have 13 active for game night, and the inactives were Guy Santos and the 3 two-way players. So that makes a lot of sense. And so you got to be a little better than 6-4 if you're going to be healthy to this point, because you're going to have to play it at some point without the full ability to have your health with you. All right, couple of things here. Let's get to our extending the three-point line for tonight.
Pass deflected, stolen away by Draymond. Underhand to Curry. In transition. Doesn't have numbers, but he says, I'm open, takes a dribble, and hits a 3 right in front of the Cavalier bench. The Warriors are back in business, and J.B. Bickerstaff wants a timeout.
Yeah, Stephen Curry there. Great to hear Tim Roy back on the call here tonight on 95.7 The Game. That you're extending the three-point line. It's got to be Steph. Another night for him where he hits 4 or more three-pointers, as Stephen Curry has done that now in each and every game still on the season. Steph ends up with the 4 three-pointers tonight, 4 of 14, though, so not one of his better shooting games to this point of the season. But that is your extending the three-point line, brought to you by West Coast Men's Health, successfully treating men for ED and chronic pain. Visit westcoastmenshealth.com. All right, before we call it a night, our hardest worker of the game, which is brought to you by Alameda County Sheriff's Office, who works hard to serve the community. Are you looking for a career in law enforcement? If you are, you can learn more about job opportunities at joinacso.com for more information. And tonight's hardest worker of the night for Golden State, another tough call in this game for the Warriors. Not a lot of great bench contributions in this game tonight. And I'm tempted to make it Podziemski in this one. He found his way in the game, hustled around a little bit, picked up a steal before it was mop-up duty in this one, and found his way late third quarter, early fourth quarter in the rotation for the Warriors in this one, and he was working hard. Just not a great night all in all for a lot of the Warriors players on the bench. Kuminga didn't do much other than get to the free throw line in this one. And, Wiggins still a minus 13, even though he had maybe statistically one of his better nights. But we'll make Brandon Podziemski the hardest worker of the night. He and Trace Jackson Davis both playing in Santa Cruz last night and available tonight. Jackson Davis only 5 minutes of action. Podziemski played 8, and so we'll make him the hardest worker of the night. Brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office, who works hard to serve the community. Again, acso.com for more information. All right, that'll do it. We'll reconvene tomorrow here from Chase Center, 4:30 with Warriors Live, and then the Warriors with the first of what will be 2 against the Timberwolves tomorrow. That is a 5:30 tip right here on 95.7 The Game, and I'll be on after overtime tomorrow. After overtime, of course, the 49ers are playing in Jacksonville, and Sterling Bennett and Mark Grandy, they're going to be on reacting to that game as soon as it goes final, probably right around 1 o'clock. And then those guys are going to be rolling from 1 until 4:30, talking 49ers football. And then I will be with you at 4:30 with Warriors Live, and then Tim and Tom with the call right here on 95.7 The Game. So thanks to Sterling Bennett. Thanks to Mark Grandy, putting in a big-time long day today and another long day tomorrow. Everybody else in our San Francisco studios. I'm John Dickinson. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 4:30 from Chase. But keep it locked right here on 95.7 The Game for all your 49er coverage as well once that game goes final with Sterling and Grandy, and then the Dubs and the Timberwolves to go right here in the evening. So full day of Bay Area sports. Keep it locked here on 95.7 The Game. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Cavs beat the Warriors 118-110, and you heard it right here on 95.7 The Game. Good night.
Attention taxpayers. If you or your business owe the IRS back taxes, the IRS has greenlighted billions of dollars in tax relief to those facing financial hardship and is now accessible through Tax Help USA. If you have a delinquent tax problem and possibly facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, audits, or already in a payment plan, you may now qualify for significant relief. For this free information, call 800-251-1413. 800-251-1413. That's 800-251-1413.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20.